SIL stole my wife's custom diamond ring and gave it to her toddler, who nearly choked. She tried blaming us, but we made her replace it and uninvited her from our anniversary dinner with the family. I'm M34, married to Lena, F33. We've been together 10 years, married 5, and I thought we'd seen every flavor of family drama. Then came last Sunday, a cookout at our house that ended with paramedics at our door, a mangled diamond ring on our counter, and my sister-in-law, Kayla, F29, accusing us of endangering her toddler. For context, Lena's engagement ring is custom. Rose gold, low-profile setting, 3 stones from her late grandmother's brooch. The jeweler designed it to sit flush with a matching band. It's not overly flashy, but it's unmistakably hers. It is also the one piece of jewelry Lena takes off when she's kneading dough or messing with marinades. There's a little ceramic trinket dish on our bedroom dresser where her rings live for those exact moments. We were hosting my brother-in-law, Kayla's husband, Evan, their son Mason, too, my in-laws, and a couple of cousins. Burgers, corn, the usual. The house was toddler-proof downstairs. Upstairs, our room, office, guest room. Doors were closed because that's where we keep the non-toddler-proof life stuff like sewing needles, cables, and an unfair number of Lego sets. Around noon, Lena slipped upstairs to take off her rings before rubbing paprika butter into corn. I saw her put both rings in the dish. She came back down. Corn got its butter, the grill got going, everyone settled in. About an hour later, I noticed Kayla doing laps with Mason on her hip. She looked antsy. Kayla is the family magpie, loves shiny things, loves stories that aren't hers to tell, loves boundaries if they're other people's. I clocked her starting up the stairs and said, "Bathroom's down here." She tossed over her shoulder. "I know, I need to grab Mason's wipes from my purse." We don't have Kayla's purse upstairs. Anyway, 5 minutes pass, then 10. I went to check, because toddlers plus stairs make me itchy. Our bedroom door, which had been closed, was now cracked. I pushed it open and saw the trinket dish with just Lena's simple band in it. The engagement ring was gone. The moment my brain registered that, I heard the sound no parent, uncle, ever wants to hear. The wet, high-pitched gagging cough of a tiny human trying and failing to breathe. I sprinted downstairs. Kayla was in the living room with Mason on her lap, bouncing him and saying, "You're okay, baby, you're okay." He was not okay. His face was modeling, eyes huge. Lena was already halfway across the room. She swept Mason's mouth with a finger and gasped, "Is that?" I didn't even look. I picked Mason up, flipped him over my forearm, and did back blows. Lena was on the phone with 911, voice razor calm in that terrifying way. A small metallic clink hit the hardwood, then a chorus of chaos, Kayla screaming, Mason working his first painful wail back into his lungs, my mill crying, the cousins frozen. I looked down and saw Lena's engagement ring on the floor, smeared with toddler drool, the prongs bent. One of the little side diamonds was gone. Paramedics arrived, checked Mason, reassured everyone he was okay, suggested we get him watched for a bit in case he'd aspirated anything. We all exhaled. I didn't realize I'd been shaking until I couldn't turn the doorknob to let one of the EMTs out. Then the accusation started. "Kayla, why would you leave something like that out where a baby could find it?" Me, with the ring still in my palm. "It was in our bedroom. In a dish. On the dresser." Kayla blinked, recalibrated, then tried. The door was open. Lena, voice low, "No, it wasn't." My Phil, who had been quiet, said, "Kayla, did you go upstairs and give Mason the ring?" Kayla, "I didn't give it to him. He was fussy, and I was showing him the shiny to distract him for a second, and he grabbed it, and then he bit it." If you want to know the exact moment the room temperature dropped 20 degrees, it was right there. Lena didn't yell. She picked up the ring with a dish towel like it might crumble if she touched it, and said, "You took my ring," out of my room, and put it near his mouth. Kayla's face went from defensive to wounded to angry in 3 seconds flat. I was trying to keep him calm because you don't have any toys down here that aren't choking hazards. I stared at the mountain of wooden blocks and soft books on the rug. An argument erupted, as you might expect. Kayla's defenses came fast and wild. "You're overreacting. It was an accident. If the ring wasn't so pokey, Mason could have died because you don't keep an eye on—" That was it for me. I said, "Enough. We're taking Mason to urgent care to be safe, and after that, you and Evan are going to call our jeweler and ask what it costs to repair or replace a custom ring with heirloom stones, because you stole it and you damaged it." Stole? She laughed. We're family. Exactly, I said, which is why I'm not calling the police right now. We drove in 2 cars to urgent care. Mason got a little x-ray to rule out anything else. All clear, thank God. Back at our place, I pulled out the invoice folder we keep with the home title and insurance docs, blessed past me for my boring binder habits, and found the jeweler's card. The jeweler remembered us. She also had a sixth sense for emotional landmines, because as soon as Lena said, "The ring was bent and a stone is missing," the jeweler gently said, "I'm so sorry. You're welcome to bring it in Monday for an assessment. But just so you know, replacing heirloom stones isn't like sourcing new ones." Translation: money won't ungrandma a diamond. Kayla, who had been hovering with her arms crossed, said, "So what? You're going to make us pay 10 grand for your sentimental meltdown?" Lena didn't flinch. "We're going to make you pay to repair what can be repaired. If the center prongs are compromised, the entire setting needs to be redone. If the side stones can't be matched, it becomes a new ring with similar stones, and my grandmother's piece becomes something else. Either way, you did this. So yes." Evan put a hand on Kayla's shoulder and said quietly, "We'll make it right." Kayla shrugged him off. "We can't afford that, and this is ridiculous. You're punishing me for a mistake." I said, "You walked into our bedroom, took a ring that wasn't yours, gave it to a toddler like it was a fidget toy, and almost choked him. That's not a mistake. That's a chain of choices." The rest of the family splintered into their predictable camps. My mother-in-law kept saying, "Let's all take a breath." My FIL, still pale from the scare, said nothing, but looked like he wanted to climb into his pocket and stay there. Evan apologized to Lena about 15 times. The cousins vanished to the patio, and Kayla pouted. She sat on the arm of our couch like she owned it, scrolling her phone, making dramatic sighs. By the time the grill was cold, Lena and I were done. Our 5th anniversary dinner with the family was supposed to be this Friday. Nothing fancy, a reservation at the place where we had our first date, a nice excuse to put on something other than jeans and grill smoke. We'd planned to announce a small trip we saved up for. Lena took my hand, squeezed, and said to the room, "We're changing the plan. Kayla, you're uninvited." Kayla's head snapped up. "You can't do that." Lena, "Watch me." Kayla stood, eyes glassy. "If you ban me, none of us are coming." My Fael, quietly, "We'll be there." Kayla stared at him like he'd slapped her. "Dad." Then to Evan, "Are you seriously okay with this?" Evan, swallowing, "I'm okay with Mason breathing." The night ended with Kayla storming out, Evan trailing after her, and me changing the password on our front door keypad. Lena and I cleaned in silence until she finally picked up the ring again and said, "Small. It was my grandma's." "I know," I said. "We'll figure it out." Monday, Lena took the ring to the jeweler. The news: one prong cracked, the other stressed, and the missing side stone likely popped out when the prongs bent against toddler molars. The jeweler could rebuild the head and try to source a vintage cut side stone that matched the color clarity of the other, but warned us it would never be a perfect twin. The estimate made my stomach dip. Evan, to his credit, said, "We'll pay," and asked for a payment plan. Kayla sent a text that said, "I'm not agreeing to highway robbery," which we ignored. We moved the anniversary dinner to a smaller table and told the restaurant to strike one name from the reservation. I'd like to say that felt like the end of it. I now know it wasn't. Update 1. The Monday after the cookout, Lena got the official estimate from the jeweler, and Evan transferred the deposit within the hour. It was a lot for them. He didn't argue. He just wrote, "I'm sorry," and asked for the invoice so he could set up a payment plan for the rest. Kayla, on the other hand, texted our family group chat something between a manifesto and a tantrum. "Kayla, since OP and Lena are making us replace their ring, after an accident, I guess we're not family anymore. Also, they banned me from their dinner." I typed, held back, deleted. Lena wrote, "We asked you not to go upstairs. You took my ring and gave it to a toddler." Mason almost choked. "You broke the ring. We are asking you to pay for what you broke." Her message read like a receipt. Kayla fired back, "You're trying to punish me. You don't care what this is doing to my marriage." Then, to Evan, publicly, "Maybe you like playing hero for your brother's wife." Evan responded with what I can only imagine cost him a small piece of his spine. "Stop. I agreed to pay because we did this." Then he left the chat for a while. which was its own kind of loud. My mother-in-law tried to mediate. "Let's all take a breath," she wrote, which is her catch-all for "I hate confrontation and will now pretend oxygen solves it." My FIL texted separately, "We'll be at dinner Friday. Tell me what time." The subtext was, "Kayla can spin to the ceiling. We're not twirling with her." Tuesday, Kayla escalated. A small white box arrived on our porch around lunchtime. No return address. Inside, a thin rose gold band with a chunky cubic zirconia head that looked like it had been modeled after a high school prom tiara. There was a receipt from a mall kiosk tucked under the foam for $149, and taped to the lid a note in Kayla's big loopy handwriting. "There. Replacement. Can we be done now?" Lena stared at it like it was a joke she was trying to get. Then she laughed once in that not funny way and set it on the counter. I snapped a photo of the box, receipt, and note and texted Kayla privately. "This is not a replacement. The jeweler has our ring. Evan paid the deposit. Please stop." She read the message. 3 dots, then nothing. We decided not to respond further. Our counselor, we did a few sessions last year after a rough patch with work schedules, best money we ever spent, gave us this phrase for family chaos. You can't outrun a story someone else needs to tell. Kayla needed to tell the world she was being persecuted. We weren't going to help her write it. Wednesday, the jeweler called to say she'd stabilized the prongs and was beginning a rebuild of the head. She'd found a vintage cut side stone that was a very close match to Lena's remaining one, slightly warmer in tone, within a notch of clarity. "If you want an absolutely identical twin, we'd be waiting months and it still might not exist," she said gently. Lena exhaled and said, "Close is fine. Grandma's brooch had character. I can live with character." I loved her a little extra for that. Thursday night, I changed our front door keypad again, just in case. We'd already told the restaurant we were striking one name from the reservation. I also set up our little pet cam in the mudroom. Normally we use it when our dog, Moose, a lab mix with separation anxiety and the emotional intelligence of a therapist, has to be left alone. He's almost 5. He'll whine for 5 minutes, then sack out by the door. Mostly we check it to laugh at him doing that big dramatic dog sigh. The camera is pointed toward the front hall and living room. At the time I was thinking package theft, or maybe Kayla deciding to drop by when we weren't home. I didn't expect anything beyond that. Friday, our anniversary dinner, started bumpy, then got surprisingly lovely. My in-laws showed up early at our place with a small bouquet and an apology cake my Emil had ordered that read, 5 years, love you, in shaky icing. She hugged Lena and cried in that sudden small way. "I hate that any of this touched your ring," she said, and Lena hugged back and said, "Me too. Thank you for being here." At the restaurant, we got a cozy table near the window, clinked glasses, and told the story of our first date the way we always do. I was late. Lena pretended she was thinking of leaving. I said something stupid. She laughed. We never really stopped talking. 15 minutes in, Evan slipped in quietly with his shoulders up around his ears, like he could make himself smaller by wishing it. He didn't order a drink. He asked the server for water and then asked us how the ring repair was going. I told him the update and he said he'd sent the jeweler the next installment that afternoon. "Thank you," Lena said. "I know this is complicated for you." He nodded. "Kayla is not herself right now." I took a breath. "I'm not sure who she is right now," I said, not unkindly. Our server returned with food, and as if on cue, my watch vibrated. A flood of texts from Kayla. The first couple were the usual guilt-laced jabs, then one that made my stomach dip. "Heading your way. Family eats together." I flagged the server and quietly asked if the host could keep an eye out for someone trying to join our party without being on the reservation. We gave a quick description. I hated feeling like we were planning a sting operation at our own dinner, but boundaries mean nothing if we don't enforce them. We didn't have to wonder long. 10 minutes later, the host lingered at the edge of our table and murmured, "There's a woman at the front insisting she was invited. Says she's family. Do you want us to seat her?" I shook my head. "She's not part of our reservation." The host nodded. "We'll take care of it." He drifted back to the front. A moment later, through the glass, we saw Kayla at the hostess stand, gesturing, then craning her neck to spot us. She made eye contact. Her face did that thing where everything narrows, like a storm forming. The hostess said something, calm and unobtrusive, and Kayla spun on her heel and stalked out. Evan went absolutely still, like he was trying not to add his own gravity to the scene. He took out his phone under the table, tapping furiously. It buzzed in his hand. He read, then blew out a breath. "She just told me I'm choosing you over my family," he said quietly. "And also that you're brainwashing Lena." He looked at Lena. "I'm sorry." Lena said, "Thank you for not bringing that to our table." We finished dinner. It wasn't perfect. There was tension like a low hum. But there was also laughter, and cake, and my FIL telling the story about the time he proposed to my MIL with a ring 3 sizes too big because he guessed and refused to ask for help. We went home feeling wrung out but okay. On our porch, a manila envelope taped to the door with blue painter's tape. Inside, a printed letter. "Kayla doesn't do cursive when she's angry. You can't keep Mason from his family. If you uninvite me, you uninvite him. You are tearing us apart over a rock. If you apologize, I'll consider forgiving you. K." Lena read it once, set it down and said, "Okay." She didn't mean okay to the letter. She meant okay to something in herself. She took a photo, slid the letter into a plastic sleeve, teacher brain, protect the artifact, and put it in our file with the jeweler estimate. Then we changed the keypad code again and I checked the mudroom cam to make sure it was recording. Moose did his dramatic sigh and flopped. Saturday was quiet. Evan texted a simple, "Thank you for dinner." My MIL sent photos she'd snapped of us with cake frosting on our noses, because apparently we are 9. Kayla posted nothing on her socials, which was unusual in the way that a sunny day is unusual after a week of storms. Sunday morning, I sent Kayla a plain, non-negotiable boundary message. "Kayla, for now please do not come to our home uninvited. Do not come upstairs at our house for any reason. Do not handle our property without permission. You are not invited to events at our home until we have an in-person conversation that includes an apology and a plan to make things right. All communication about the ring goes through the jeweler and Evan's payment plan. If you come by uninvited again or attempt to enter our home, we will contact the police. OP." 5 minutes later she wrote back, "You can't threaten me. See you sooner than you think." Was that a threat? A bluff? A flex? I took a screenshot and sent it to Evan, along with, "Please keep her away from our house." He wrote back, "I'm trying." That was the last we heard that day. If this was a movie, I would have noticed the music change. Instead, we went to the farmer's market, bought peaches, took Moose to the park, and came home to nap on the couch. The calm right before the thing you don't think could happen, but somehow does. Update 2. Sunday night after my "do not come to our home" text and Kayla's "sooner than you think" reply, we tried to act normal. We did laundry, Lena lesson planned. I walked Moose and bagged what needed bagging because I am a decent neighbor. We locked up, checked the keypad, checked the little pet cam, and went to bed with the jittery sleep you get when your body's braced for something you can't name. Monday was a workday blur. We both left at 7:45 a.m. Lena to school, me to the office. Moose goes to doggy daycare on Mondays, his favorite social club. Around noon, the mudroom camera pinged my phone with motion. I glanced, saw sunlight and dust, and went back to a meeting. At 1:17 p.m., it pinged again, more insistent. I was free, so I opened the app expecting a lolling dog tongue or a package drop. Instead, I saw the lower third of a woman in leggings and platform sneakers stepping into our frame. She moved like she knew exactly where to go. The camera auto-adjusted and caught her face when she looked toward the living room. Kayla. She had on big sunglasses despite being indoors, a baseball cap, and a canvas tote. A thin pair of disposable gloves flashed when she pulled something from the tote. I had that surreal, floaty sensation you get in a car crash. The one where time stretches, then snaps. For a solid beat, I convinced myself I was seeing things. Then Kayla disappeared out of frame, and the camera picked up the sound that made my scalp crawl. Drawers opening, the little hitch of a giggle people do when they're talking to themselves, a muffled, disgusted, delighted, "There you are." I called Lena on FaceTime and shared the feed. "Do not go home," I said, before she could say hello. "Kayla's in our house." The next 30 minutes were a combination of watching and narrating to the 911 dispatcher, who was calm the way I wish I could order by the gallon. "Stay where you are. Officers are en route. Do not confront her," the dispatcher said. A rhythm we repeated 3 times because my brain kept trying to stand up and go fix it. Kayla had no idea about the camera. She started in the living room, yanked the throw off the couch like it had offended her, and then I saw the thing that clicked everything into focus. The little blue dog waste bag in her gloved hand. It was tied, ballooned. She untied it with a breathy little gag, and then she started to smear. I won't linger on details. She hit the side of the couch, a section of the wall near the thermostat, the inside of our front door at child height. She moved like she was painting, purposeful, furious, weirdly concentrated. When she stepped close to the camera to tug off a glove with her teeth, I saw her face clear as daylight, jaw tight, eyes glassy, a tracer streak of something across her cheek where she'd touched her own face without thinking. She muttered, "Family first, huh? You want a mess? Here's a mess." I've never wanted so badly to be both somewhere and nowhere. The dispatcher asked for our alarm info. I gave the keypad code and told her we had a deadbolt too. "Don't worry about the deadbolt," she said. "They're almost there." We watched an officer come into frame at 1:28 p.m. Knock, call out, knock again. The door was locked. Kayla had come in through the side gate and the back. The officers moved around to the yard. Our camera caught their voices, calm, professional, announcing themselves through the open kitchen window. There was a clatter, then silence, then the front doorknob tested from the inside. Kayla didn't come out. Instead, the camera caught a blur. She ducked low and moved out of frame. 10 seconds later, the back motion sensor on the app flashed, gate opening, then closing. She'd slipped out the way she came. The officers circled back to the front and waited for us. The dispatcher stayed on until I said I could see the blue lights on our street camera. Lena was still at school. Her principal stepped into her classroom and took over the last 15 minutes while she drove home with hands white-knuckled on the wheel. When I pulled up, an officer met me at the curb, asked for ID, and put a hand up when I tried to step past him. "I need to clear it first," he said, and disappeared inside with his partner. 2 minutes later, he waved me in with a tight, sympathetic mouth. The smell hit first, a sour, humbling stink that made my eyes water. I stood there, ridiculous, thinking of every time Moose had trotted over to me with a wag and a chew toy, and how this was the exact opposite of that feeling. The officer walked me through, careful not to step in anything. He pointed out the places she'd hit and said, "We're going to want your video. Don't touch that camera yet." Lena arrived. I watched her see it all, the couch, the wall, the tiny hand-height smear near the door, and I saw something close down behind her eyes. Not numbness, not shock, resolve. She said one word, "Okay," the same okay she'd used with the letter on the door. Then she asked for a trash bag and gloves so she could pick up the dog bag Kayla had dropped near the mudroom. The officer said, gentle but firm, "Please don't touch anything yet. We'll have a crime scene tech swing by to take some photos." While we waited, I pulled the mudroom camera off its mount and handed it to the officer so he could review on the spot. He watched as Kayla stepped into frame, as she untied the bag, as she went to work. He stopped the video at her face, glanced at me, then at Lena. "Is this your sister-in-law?" "Yes," I said. "Kayla, last name. She's been escalating." He took a statement from both of us. We printed the text where she said, "See you sooner than you think," and added the screenshot to the pile. The tech took photos, bagged the blue dog bag, and dusted the back window latch, where it looked like someone had jimmied it. There were faint marks around the lock. We hadn't thought to check the windows. We'd focused on the keypad, the deadbolt. "That's on me." The officer said, "It happens. You took reasonable precautions. You also did the right thing not coming in." They classified it as a residential burglary and vandalism. To be honest, hearing the word burglary felt too big, even as I stared at my couch. The officer explained, "Unlawful entry with intent to commit a crime inside. Intent doesn't have to be theft. Sometimes it's just the intent to make a mess." We called a professional cleaner, the kind with a discreet, unmarked van and a voice that said, without saying it, that this wasn't their first rodeo. Insurance covered part. The deductible still stung. Evan called while we were sorting logistics. He didn't speak right away. When he did, his voice was paper thin. "I saw the video," he said. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll keep her away from us," I said, tired and not angry so much as scraped clean. "I moved out," he blurted. "Last night, I took Mason to my parents. I didn't want to say anything until I knew what I was doing, but I can't keep him in that. She's not sleeping. She's not eating. She says you're trying to erase her from the family." I closed my eyes. "Evan, thank you for protecting Mason. "I'm sorry you're going through this." He asked if we were pressing charges. We said yes. He said he understood. Then he said, "Smaller. She's going to say you set her up." She did. Within hours, Kayla posted a long, unhinged story on her private IG, a photo of a police cruiser on our street with the caption, "When your in-laws call the cops because you tried to clean up their dog mess," and a paragraph accusing us of planting evidence and editing video. She tagged Lena's school. Lena's principal called immediately. "We've got your back. I'll document the harassment and loop in district security." My mother-in-law came over, saw the couch, and cried in a way that had nothing to do with upholstery. "She used to be a sweet kid," she said, a sentence that squeezes the heart of every parent who has watched an adult child go sideways. My father-in-law stood very still, like any movement might crack something fragile. He said, "We'll help with the cleaning," and then he held Moose's leash while the cleaner's fans thrummed. That night, after the techs left and the fans hummed us towards sleep, Lena and I sat at the kitchen table and filled out paperwork for a temporary restraining order. There's no victory in that form. It's all boxes and blank spaces, and a little line where you describe the thing you never thought you'd describe. We attached stills from the video. We described the threat. We clicked through the online filing, and the system spit out a case number, like a robot, sorry. The detective called Tuesday morning. He'd pulled Kayla's DMV photo and matched it to our footage. He had our statements. He'd spoken to Evan, who confirmed Kayla had left the house around lunchtime Monday and returned sweaty and keyed up. He said the DA would likely file misdemeanor counts for vandalism and trespass, possibly bumping up to a felony burglary depending on charging standards and the fact that she bypassed a locked window. "I can't promise a timeline," he said, "but there will be consequences." That same afternoon the jeweler called. The ring rebuild was ready for inspection. Lena went alone. She sent me a photo from the little velvet pad at the jeweler's bench, a ring that looked like itself again. If you know where to look, one side stone is warmer by a whisper. We'll know, no one else will. It's not the exact same ring because time moved and we moved with it. Lena texted, "It's still mine." I texted back a picture of Moose with his head in my lap and wrote, "So are we." We changed the locks. We added a second camera facing the yard. We put the couch in a professional's hands and said a goodbye to the throw blanket that had been Lena's college staple and, frankly, had earned retirement. We sent the bill for cleaning and lock replacement to Evan. He asked for time. We told him that was fine. We didn't sleep much. That's the part you don't see on the feed. The way your own house hums differently after someone breaches it. The way every creak sounds like a footstep until you remember your HVAC has a personality. By Wednesday, the detective said the DA had accepted charges. "Next steps will move quickly," he said. "We'll keep you updated." Final update. A lot has happened since my last update. If the earlier posts felt like a fire, this part is the long, necessary work of rebuilding. Insurance calls, court calendars, and the kind of conversations with relatives that make your stomach clench before you dial. Within a week of the DA accepting charges, a detective called to say they'd issued a warrant. Kayla didn't wait for a knock. She turned herself in the next morning with a public defender. My mother-in-law cried when she told us. My FIL didn't speak. Evan didn't post bail. "I can't do this for her," he said. Not this time. Kayla was out within the day on her own recognizance, with instructions to have no contact with us. Our temporary restraining order hearing was the following Friday. I won't pretend I felt brave. The courtroom was smaller than on TV, fluorescent lights humming, a white noise machine in the corner like someone's dignified attempt at privacy. Kayla logged in over video, hair pulled back, face pale, a lawyer at her side. When the judge asked if she understood the petition and the evidence submitted, the video, the texts, the letter, her lawyer answered for her while she looked at the desk. Lena spoke for us. She's not a speechmaker. She's a teacher who has mastered calm under a fire alarm. She outlined what happened, then said, "Steady. We are asking for a 1-year order. We need time and space." The judge granted it. 12 months, no contact, stay 100 yards away from us, our home, Lena's school. Kayla's lawyer asked whether family events could be carved out. The judge didn't blink. No. I didn't realize how much I'd been holding until we walked into the hall, and my shoulders ached like I'd been carrying groceries for miles. A couple of weeks later came arraignment. The charges were 2 misdemeanors, vandalism and criminal trespass, with the burglary count held in reserve if she violated orders. The DA offered a plea deal. No jail, 2 years probation, restitution, 200 hours of community service, and mandatory counseling with a compliance review every 3 months. If she violated the protective order, the suspended time and the higher charge could trigger. We weren't asked for input on the sentence, but the victim advocate explained everything and asked how we felt about restitution and no-contact terms. We asked for restitution for cleaning and locks. Insurance covered some, but we were out the deductible and additional work, and we asked that the no-contact order mirror the civil restraining order. The DA nodded. Done. Kayla pled guilty. The moment stuck with me. The judge asked, "How do you plead?" Kayla glanced at her lawyer, then into the camera, and said quietly, "Guilty." No theatrics, no ownership speech either. After, the lawyer read a short statement about stressors and misguided attempts to be heard. I braced for the word postpartum because the internet throws that around like a catch-all. The lawyer didn't say it. The judge told Kayla, "Whatever your reasons, you endangered a child and violated your family's home. The court expects you to comply fully." Kayla nodded. For the first time since this started, I believed there might be a stop to the spin. Restitution was itemized: cleaning, couch remediation, lock replacement, a portion of the emergency board up, and our day off work to deal with the mess. The ring repair wasn't included because Evan had already arranged and paid the installments himself. The advocate said we couldn't double collect. Evan didn't contest that, only asked that the court note he was the one paying for the ring, so anything Kayla owed there would get sorted in their separation. He's filed, by the way. He told me over coffee. His hand shook like he'd had too much caffeine or too little sleep, that he couldn't keep living in whatever this new reality is for her. They've set up a parenting plan. Mason stays with Evan and my in-laws, supervised visits for Kayla for now, subject to review after 6 months of consistent counseling and compliance. Saying it out loud hurt him, but also seemed to let him inhale. Lena's ring, meanwhile, is back where it belongs. We picked it up together. The jeweler had cleaned it to a mirror. She offered to add an inscription inside the band. Just initials and a date. So we placed Lena's grandmother's initials and the year the brooch was made. It's an acknowledgement that this ring has a history beyond our day at the bench. Lena wears it again. Sometimes I catch her turning it with her thumb like a touchstone. The match on the side stones is as close as anyone promised. If you know, you know. We know. It doesn't feel like a loss anymore. It feels like we folded something hard into the metal and kept going. Family fallout came in chapters. My mother-in-law was torn between daughter and reality. After court, she came by with a lasagna and 3 apologies in her eyes. "I wanted to tell the judge she's not a monster," she said. Lena said, "She's not. She made monstrous choices." They cried, then laughed in that absurd way that happens when your body has manually wrung out its last tear. My Phil, who has always been a quiet man, said a sentence I'll never forget. When you love someone, you can't hold the umbrella for them and the lightning rod too. Boundaries, in dad metaphor. Holidays. Yes, we've already divided them in our shared calendar. We'll be 2-track for a while. We're hosting a smaller group. My in-laws will split time. If and when Kayla is stable and compliant and truly different, we'll revisit. That's not a promise to reconcile. It's a promise not to lock the door from the inside forever without checking the window first. Semantics, maybe. It helps us sleep. Kayla sent one court-permitted message through her attorney. An apology letter we didn't have to accept. We read it with the advocate present. It was stiff, formal, and likely drafted by counsel. No blame, no minimization, but also no, "I get it." We signed a receipt and put it in our folder. Maybe one day there'll be an apology that sounds like her. We're not waiting for it to live our lives. Lena's school documented everything. The district blocked Kayla's email after she tried to send a statement to the PTA. HR got involved. Support staff checked in. One of Lena's students drew a comic of a superhero teacher fighting a stink cloud with a mop. It lives on our fridge because sometimes you need the art. We replaced the couch. We kept the old frame after the cleaners did their magic and donated it. The cushion memory was too strong, and also, it squeaked like a haunted harmonica at 2 a.m., which did not aid in the whole feel safe in our home project. We upgraded our security to a service that calls before the dog cam has time to announce motion detected. Moose disapproves of the new beep, but accepts extra treats during system tests. The biggest change is quieter than all that. It's how we talk about family. Before this, I would have said family is unconditional. Now I would put a comma in there. Unconditional, with boundaries. I will love you and not let you hurt me. I will show up and still close my door. The "and" is everything. Evan still pays the ring installments. He tried to argue for taking over restitution too. We said no. Don't cushion this, Lena told him gently. He nodded, relief and grief in the same motion. He's found a therapist, so has Kayla per court order. I don't know if she's going to go for real or check boxes for 2 years. I hope she goes for real. I hope the next time we share space, it's at a kindergarten graduation where we clap for Mason like fools while he scowls at the mortarboard on his head, and it is unremarkable and kind. Hope is not policy though. Our policy is paper, locks, cameras, and a plan. I keep thinking about something the victim advocate said when I thanked her for answering my 1,000th question. Justice isn't about making it like it never happened, she said. It's about making it less likely to happen again and helping you move forward. That's where we are now. The ring is on Lena's hand. The couch doesn't squeak, the door beeps, the dog snores. It's not that life is back to normal. It's that we're learning a new one. And for the first time since a tiny metallic clink hit our hardwood, the house hums like itself.